Thank you so much, Sloan. All right, so by a round of boos, who is unhappy with the state of politics in Philadelphia? Who is unhappy with the state of politics in Pennsylvania? And this is going to be an easy one. Who's unhappy with the state of politics in the United States of America? So here's the good news. You're not alone, as certainly in this room, and as you're going to be hearing a lot probably about tonight, and we already have. But when Pennsylvanians were asked, registered voters, by the Franklin and Marshall poll, what was the number one issue most important problem facing both Pennsylvania and the United States, their top answer was government and politicians. This was one of the reasons that in 2015, I ran for city council as an independent. I am thoroughly unqualified to stand up and give an Ignite talk on how to win a seat on city council. However, I can talk to you a little bit about elections and politics and saving our democracy, because over the last year, not just people in this room, but all around the country have felt our democracy is under threat. And we had vigorous presidential primaries. We had protests. We have lawyers showing up at airports to save immigrants. We have Tuesdays with Toomey. And I'm going to talk to you about something that's really important to me in terms of saving our democracy, and that is getting deeply and actively involved in the electoral process. The greatest threat to our democracy is not Donald Trump. It is ourselves. We are the greatest threat. And I know a lot of you are probably standing here in a very self-satisfied fashion about the fact that you vote all of the time. Congratulations. You are better than people who don't vote. But our city and our Commonwealth and our nation needs a lot more from you. Specifically, they need your money and your time. And if you're going to invest your money and your time, you ought to invest it where you're going to get the largest marginal return. I feel like this is a crowd where I can use a term like marginal return. By a round of applause, who here in the last year donated $1, knocked on a door, made a phone call, worked a poll for a presidential candidate? Clap your hands, clap your hands. Don't raise them, clap them. Last year, congratulations. That was great. Who here in the last 2 years did the same thing, hosted a meet and greet, maybe add to that list, for someone running for state rep, for city council, for the DA's office, for controller? Not bad, but decidedly less quiet, decidedly more quiet than the first one. Those folks, they needed $50 and 5 hours of your time, and it would have a way bigger impact in those local races than it's ever going to have in a national race. And good news, the race for president isn't until 2020. You have 3 years to support local candidates, because for a city council race, it's a couple thousand votes that will win a city council race. State rep seats are often won by 1,000 votes or less. And there are often recounts even in those races. But the most important part is the folks who we elect to those local offices are the people who are going to be Pennsylvania's next congresswoman. We have 0 women representing us in Washington, in Pennsylvania. That is insane, right? They're going to be the people who replace Pat Toomey in 2022. They're going to be the candidates for mayor. Of the 18 of the 21 women in the U.S. Senate were first elected to local office. 32 members of the 49 members of the Congressional Black Caucus were first elected to local office. There are a whole bunch of people on the south side of Chicago who spent 8 years bragging about how they held a meet and greet for Barack Obama when he ran for state senate. You could brag too in 2032, all right? So here are 2 things you need to do. You need to find out who the candidates for DA are. The election is May 16th. That's when it's going to be decided. Pick your favorite one, give them $50 and 5 hours of your time. I'm doing that for Joe Kahn. He's a former federal prosecutor. I think he'd be great in the job. Find out what the controller's office does. It is one of the most important offices in the city. It is run by a career politician. It ought to be run by a professional like Rebecca Reinhardt, former budget director for the city. Give her $50 and 5 hours of your time. Then next year, when we have state rep races up, give $50 or $500 if you can afford it to represent PAC, which is electing fantastic women to state legislative offices all over the state. Then, if you care about America, go back to steps 1 and 2 and repeat them for the next 3 years. Thanks so much.